Dear Mama, when it comes to Black maternal health, our work is not over when Black mothers survive and the child is born alive. Black maternal health should not fade into our peripheral because Black Maternal Health Week has passed. In this episode, we're excited to discuss being invited to travel to Houston to do an art installation for round 50 of Project Row Houses that centered Black maternal health. We'll have some pictures and raw footage from the installation. On our website, we also discuss the importance of art in the Black maternal health movement and art's capacity like nothing else to creep into the crevices of culture and push us forward. Before we jump into that convo though, we discuss witnessing our children during hard situations, which was inspired by card number 19 from our Black Mama Magic card deck that reads, I honor my child's divine path. We hope this episode reminds you that motherhood is not the graveyard of dreams, that our children are divine beings on their own divine journey. And when your mothership hits rough waters, soften, be kind and gentle with yourself, and allow others to pour into you. Now, if you like what you hear after you listen to this episode, invest in us. And one of the new ways that you can invest in us is by purchasing our limited edition summer solstice boxes, which go on sale this month. The boxes include a full Black Mama Magic card deck, a mini manifestation kits, incense from Smell Good Spa, and other tools that can keep you grounded and inspire you to create. When you invest in Them Black Mamas, you're investing in a platform curated by 3 Black women actively cultivating spaces rooted in healing, creativity, and liberation for Black mamas. There are a couple of other things you can do to invest in us and help us continue to be Black Mama Built. Number 1, don't just listen, subscribe and leave a review. Number 2, share with at least one person who you feel can benefit from listening to this episode. Number 3, follow us and engage with us through social media comments on our Instagram or our YouTube channel. DM us or email us with questions at magic@dimblackmamas.com. Number 4, join our email list by visiting our website, dimblackmamas.com. And number 5, make a contribution by becoming a patron, purchase merch like our summer solstice box, or make a one-time donation. And all of those links are in our show notes on our website, dimblackmamas.com. You can also find other important links and information relevant to this episode in our show notes as well. So be sure to check out our website. Say it with me, y'all, dimblackmamas.com. Now, let's get free, y'all, and jump into episode 39 of
Damn Black Mamas.
Welcome back to The Ride, the greatest podcast on earth, GPO. Yes, Nikisha, we're still using that. I think it's working.
Still a thing, huh? Just gonna keep trying to make fetch happen. Okay, girl.
And Nikisha has a new microphone today, so I have a feel.
Do I sound good? This is my moment. Let me shine for a moment. Hello.
For a moment.
Mic check.
Shine
mic check
on.
1. Mic check 2. Just checking. The people want to hear me, honey. I'm just trying to come across loud and clear.
I have a feeling we're going to be hearing a lot more from Nikisha today. I am Crystal Tennille Irby, mother of 4.
And I am Thea Mounier, mother of 3.
And I am Nikisha Killings, mother of 4.
Girl.
How's that?
God, if you Shirley Strawberry your voice too, I'm going to literally jump off this podcast. Then I'm going to go on Shaping and Shift and do a podcast about why I left this podcast. If you do that to me, Nikisha, that's exactly how this is going to go down.
I will not do that to you, Thea.
I appreciate it. Crystal, see yourself. I want you to see yourself in this moment because this is what this is.
I do not hold people back from the shine.
She a real one, y'all. She a real one. Mm-hmm.
Like, she gonna be coming in with these, with these DJ Khaled quotes every 5 minutes now. You see what's happening? You cannot give folks a mic. It changes. It really does.
I'm feeling real official.
Okay.
Listen, y'all did it. You're bad.
Shout out to our patrons
who made
I
this mic
appreciate
happen.
y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Okay, so this episode is our Black Maternal Health Week episode, and we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to start with our church announcements and prayer list request and our responsive reading, which is from our Black Mama Magic card deck, which is on sale now. The link is live. Yeah, but this is the mini deck. The full deck will be coming out with our summer solstice box. You'll only be able to get the full deck in our summer solstice box. So this is the mini deck. And when I say we only got a few people, we only have a few. So click the link, get your life. And
they're great.
These
they're
cards.
Such great tools, especially on the mornings where you're kind of like, you know what, Spirit, I don't know. Shit.
Yes.
On those mornings, you just pull you a Black Mama Magic card.
Get you right.
Okay.
So we'll start with the responsive reading from the Black Mama Magic card deck on sale now. Help us continue to get better equipment, please. And then we'll go into our church announcements and prayer list requests. And then for our mac and cheese, we're going to share with you all poems that we wrote for an installation. And we're going to talk about art, creativity, and Black maternal health. So I'm really, really excited for you all to see our creative and artistic side. And we'll end with Black Mama Say. And we're doing a little something different in Black Mama Say as well. So let's get started. Well, do one of you want to pull a card?
My deck is kind of far.
Mine too. You got this. Go for it.
Okay. Let me shuffle. Well, let's see what the ancestors talking about. This is a good one. I honor my child's divine path. Dear Mama, your children are divine beings who came earthside with a divine purpose. Your job is to nurture them in that purpose. Release the ego that encourages you to chisel them into reflections of you. When you feel uncomfortable, afraid, and lack answers, resist the urge to instantly respond in old patterns and behavior. Take it as an opportunity to dig deeper into the roots of those emotions so you can go higher with your children and guide them on their path. I think this is the perfect card for Black Maternal Health Week, because I think one thing that's left out when we talk about Black maternal health is we focus a lot on the pregnancy, the labor, and delivery.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't remember that there's a child to be raised. Mm-hmm. And if the mother doesn't die, if the mother survives, we think, okay, she survived. We're fine. All the work. Mm-hmm. That's all the work. When actually there's still more work to do within Black maternal health to really secure that bond with the birth person. So I think this is a perfect card.
Can I add to that really quick too for single parents? Mm-hmm. We're a blended family, and there's definitely support in that. And there's always this understanding of the absence of the other biological parent and what that can feel like. And so right now, that card is so helpful to me because I have to know they feel a void that I don't have control over. That even if I go above and beyond, will not fill that void. And I think I'm learning in this last month in particular to be more witness than container. And this is after spending a lifetime being a container for literally any and everybody. That shifting to witness allows to trust the hard things. And then it allows you to wait for the revelation, right? For things to interpret themselves, for things to reveal themselves, and for your child's inner strength to show up and surprise you in these beautiful, exciting ways. And so you just got to really hold on to that impulse to engage in a way that's like you are intervening, right? Because you could be shifting something that is happening, but you don't see it happening. It doesn't mean it isn't happening. You have to really trust in who they came here as. And I say that with a full heart because it's not an easy thing to do for people that we love, whether it's partners, friends, parents, children. But I think what that reminds me of, and we put child there, but it could be so many people in our life that they are all on their own divine path, and that learning that you can't fill in all their gaps And you have to trust the same abundant universe that you lean on, that they have access to that same universe, those same resources, and that they'll find it. And it's really hard because I think I'm learning that the moment that I don't trust that divine path and I intervene and say, no, I got control over this, what happens is, aside from disrupting something, I undermine their trust in themselves and their abilities, which is not something I would ever want to do. But I also make it about me. Because I couldn't sit in the discomfort of being witnessed. I couldn't sit in the discomfort of watching someone I love be sad or grieve, because I couldn't do that. My anxiety is what actually led me to do the intervening, not spirit, right?
Our oldest daughter is my greatest teacher by far, because what she taught me was to surrender to that void. And when you surrender to that void, the greatest lesson I learned, and Jada Pinkett said this, she said it about step parenting, but I think it's true about parenting. It is the biggest death of ego you will ever witness. Because we're taught that our children's success is our success. Our children's failure is our failure. Our children's sadness is our sadness. Their happiness and joy is ours. It's not. Our job is not to experience things through our children. The truth is, our job is to be there, to witness and to love through success, through failure, through joy, through happiness, not to make up for. And that was the greatest lesson that our daughter taught me. And you're right that it is ego, because the anxiety comes up when the void is there because you're not sure what to do.
Right. And you're uncomfortable with what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And so instead of sitting in that discomfort and saying to that discomfort, I trust that even you are here for their evolution. Instead, we say, oh, I don't like how this feels. I got to do something. That's a projection, right? That action is a projection.
And there's a lesson in that discomfort for you.
There is.
Right. To watch and witness that you don't have to do everything. You can allow and witness, and you can be witness to beautiful, scary, sometimes parts of evolution.
Yeah. I think that it's hard because we're taught that it's our responsibility to mold, which is an interesting phrase, these young people into whoever they're going to be, instead of giving the truth that they are who they're supposed to be. They come equipped and with a path that is unique to them. We're not responsible for creating that path for them, only to maybe to be with them as they journey it and guide them through some pieces of it, but really has so far less to do with us than we accept. Crystal, I think this probably is why birth work was easy for you, because you had gone through a lot of that learning.
Yeah.
One of the hard parts about getting into birth work is learning that you're not in control. You are there to help to support the birthing person through this tremendous transition process. And you're there with them as they go from not mother into mother. And it's a really beautiful birthing of that birthing person, but you're not in control at all.
You're actually trusting them. And in that trusting, it teaches them to trust themselves.
Yes. Yes.
You're absolutely right, Thea, because if you've done your job, and I'm not advocating this, let me just be clear, I'm not advocating this, but if you've done your job and something happens where you can't be at the birth person can still come through without you. They can still do and show up for themselves if you have done your job to the fullest and to the highest. And it's not only that you're not trying to control the birth, but sometimes in care work, we get attached to the people that we are assisting.
We want things for them they don't even want for themselves.
That is factual.
Yeah, we begin to try to control their lives. Yes. And in birth work, it was very easy for me to listen, ask questions. And my favorite question is, how do you feel about that?
And often they've not asked that. They've not considered that, but not been asked that. Yeah.
And when you can get to that, then they can make a choice about what they discover. And I think it's one of the, I say this with full confidence. You cannot fuck with me in a birth room. In a birth room, I am the shit in the birth room. I'm unfuckwittable in a birth room.
I love it.
And it is because I stand in surrender and reverence of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm keenly witnessing.
Yeah.
You have to feel the energy. You have to feel the shifts. You have to hear the breaths, because the breaths are different when you're 4 centimeters versus 10.
Mm-hmm.
The breaths are different when there's back labor. And you have to be able to feel that, and you have to be able to listen to that. And if you're busy, no matter what setting you're in, a hospital, a home birth, whatever, if you're busy trying to control, then you're not in alignment with the person who's really in control, which is the person who's coming earthside. But I think that that's a beautiful lesson, Thea, and I'm super proud of you for being willing to learn it.
Still learning. Oh, still learning. Still learning. None of this is like one and done, you know? It's like, how can I do that more frequently? Where can I partner with the uncomfortable things? It does open you up, though, to an entirely new and different life resource, right? The difficult emotions. You can resource them this way, as opposed to avoiding them or viewing them as something that gets in the way of the other resources. They actually become partners in you getting to what you want. You know, there is a lot of surrender. There's a lot of learned fear about these emotions. But what they bring me every single time, I'll say this, is deep self-compassion. I'll say, this is hard. You know, I'm sitting with you, sickness. I'm sitting with you, financial stress or worry. And it's hard for me to sit here with you because I also feel shame or not enoughness or a lack of worth. And then I say, and all of that deserves such deep, warm compassion. And so I'm learning that those hard moments of feeling powerless, helpless, all these different things, when you're standing in that moment of, I can't control someone else's path, it reveals this like deep connection and deep compassion. The compassion is for yourself, but the connection is like, isn't this amazing that you're so connected to this person that you have to stand here with all these difficult emotions because you love them? Like, isn't it great to love that deeply? Right. And so there's these beautiful, very rich pockets of compassion, which is not something I've been the best at offering myself. And so it's going to come through some of this shadow work and some of this trust work.
When you say that, what comes up for me is offering yourself that compassion is you're building a relationship rooted in reciprocity. Reciprocity, number one, with yourself, giving yourself the emotions that you often give to others, right?
Yes.
And you're also building a relationship of reciprocity with your child because your relationship is shifting. When our children are smaller, a lot of the relationship is rooted in care. And as they grow, what you hope to shift into is a relationship rooted in reciprocity. And so when they can witness you just being there for them, then they also learn how to give that back and be able to see when you need them to just be there for you.
Yeah, I think also in that surrender, what happened is there were moments where we both said, we trust your body. The night that her fever was the highest, the wind blew. It blew all night long. And I was just laying on the couch to be there. And she said, Oya's here. And I said, yes, she is. And I could also feel my ancestors, my mothers and my grandmothers were like, we got it. And they were literally like, you can sleep now. She'll be fine in the morning. And in the morning, her fever broke. What we need in those moments, and the reason it's important for us to sit in them, is because we don't know how it feels to be held. What you're saying in that moment is, I'm giving myself permission to be held. I deserve it. I want it. I crave it. And I trust that it'll be there to hold me.
Wow. I think that this really connects with Black maternal health somehow because I don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Right. Absolutely. I remember saying that.
Yeah. And so you have to surrender. You just have to let it go and trust that you can be guided through no matter the
even
outcome.
that. Yeah. Even that.
I know that we talk about spirituality on this show a lot, and we try to talk about it in very tangible ways. And I think this is like perfect example of why we think that alignment is so very important. But in those moments when you in like the moment that you were in. Like this is when you reach for your tools. This is the moment. If you're not in alignment, you will not witness. You'll feel like you have to fix it. And so you'll feel like I don't have time to sit down and meditate or pray or get in alignment because you're trying to fix it when what you're actually supposed to be doing is witnessing. And you have to be in alignment in order to do that, in order to allow whatever is supposed to come through. And I think that that's directly connected with birth work. I think that that's a metaphor for birth work.
I had a feeling this episode was going to end up going different places. We haven't gotten to mac and cheese.
We haven't done nothing.
We're still at not even church announcement.
We on the responsive read. We still on the responsive read.
I feel this conversation so deeply. I've spent a lot of time lately talking about this very thing being relative to care work. And all of us are in different types of care work and how we find ourselves, many of us, in this place of burnout, right? But we still have a responsibility to show up and bear witness and hold space and be really present for the people who come to us and entrust their care to us. And there is a real intention that's necessary to prepare ourselves to get into a space where we can show up and really bear witness and not intervene and not try to fix, because that's not what they need. Although they came for us for the care work that we provide, that's not the thing. That's not the way it should show up. This is not easy work. It's not light work.
The truth is we're all meant to evolve into our most divine self, right? That means that the goal is to get to a point where you always see people, including yourself, as the highest version, even when they don't, and you hold that. And so that's the hard part, right? Like when somebody's coming to you as less than what they are, you come back at them as less than what you are, as opposed to like, what I'm going to do in this moment is still reflect back to you who I see you as.
Yeah.
I still see you as perfect, whole, and complete. The anger I see as pain. Here's the thing. I don't have to say or do anything except not treat you poorly, right? Not treat you the way you're acting, right? I don't have to say, let's sit down and talk about this and get to your childhood, because that would be container. As witness, I just say, I still see you. What I'm learning though is we spent the last some odd years of our life mastering that for other people. And we have failed to learn to do that for ourselves, to say, I see you. Okay, this day didn't go well. I still see you. And to not waver in how we see ourselves, because ultimately that's what makes it a struggle. I think we have to constantly practice and work on with other people is the fact that the moment we get it for ourselves, it'll be so much easier to do with other people.
Yes.
Real talk. I'm really proud of you for being willing to learn that lesson and really celebrate yourself for that, because that's not an easy lesson to learn. I mean,
it's still going. Yeah. I feel it. You can feel it in, like in your
but
body.
Let me tell you though, God had to drag me to the trenches a couple of times to finally get that lesson, like to the trenches, to therapy. I'm going to go back and live with my other parent, like all of that to finally get that lesson. And the fact that you were willing the first time to surrender to it is really, really a beautiful thing, because that's a hard thing, especially for Black parents, Black parents. Because we think if we don't fix it, our kid could die. We don't understand that there's so many more outcomes in between than that. So I think that that's really a beautiful.
And you can imagine those, you know. So when I sit in that feeling, sometimes I imagine what else could be the outcome, right? My mind is focused on this one, but like it's also true that this person could do this, and I just begin to imagine all the other possibilities and put my energy towards the one that feels like I can see them the most happy.
Yes.
I don't do that first because I don't want to rush the thing away. Like one thing I was clear about was don't try to pray away or ritualize this thing away, right? Yeah. Partner with it, sit with it. Then I could say, well, there's other possibilities. And let's explore and imagine.
Yeah. I remember when I was first started dating Rashad, I've grown. I'm just going to tell the story, but I've grown. And he didn't pick up the phone or something. I was living with you at the time. And I went down this whole rabbit hole. And she was like, there's so many other things.
There's so many possibilities.
Doing. Like, then what you just rattled off.
Including like death, my nigga. Like
Yeah.
Have we not considered?
In that moment, I realized like I always imagine the worst possible outcome.
Yeah. It's our default. Right?
Yeah, I had to really do some deep work in order to allow myself to be loved. I had to begin to learn to imagine the best possible outcome. That took work.
And this still happens like with people where I'm just like, is that the only possibility? I mean, and you know what happens? Because I'm also around a lot of Geminis. It's like a fact for them. Like it is this thing.
It may not be a Gemini thing. That just may be a Black woman.
That just may
thing.
be.
That just may be.
It may be. I mean, it's a Scorpio thing, but
y'all.
Don't say nothing.
Lord, I was gonna let you slide.
A lot of us kiss not some frogs, but some snakes. So
yeah, no, for sure.
We're going too deep, too far.
It was too much.
Let's reel it on back in now.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Deep compassion.
We're
gonna sit in this uncertainty and the unknown. And you talk to yourself like this, like, I know you want to know. I know. Oh yeah, it does. It's like you would a baby. It sucks to not know, doesn't it? Oh, it doesn't feel you're so right. I know that's so true.
Let me tell you, I called my friend and she didn't even say hello. She said, listen, bitch, I am on my second Haagen-Dazs bar. I was like, oh, have you gone past the pasta? Have you gone past the Italian food? You on the sweet?
That was me trying not to intervene. I was like, this witness gonna need a Haagen-Dazs bar.
Yeah. So it gets real in the streets. It gets real in the alignment streets. Okay, so that is the responsive rating.
That was a lot. Church announcements. So my church announcement is that summer solstice boxes go on sale May 1st, party people, May 1st. And like I said, we have some mini Black Mama Magic card decks left. So that link will be in our show notes, or you can go to our website, dimmblackmamas.com/shop, and you can purchase them from there. If you are a part of our email list, you will get the link to purchase our summer solstice box a week early, and we have a limited amount. We're only selling 50 boxes. So once they're gone, they are gone. The summer solstice box, it helps us keep the podcast going, and not only keep it going, but also expand and evolve. And watch our Instagram page for that drop, or you can join our email list and you can get the link a little bit early. But we have some wonderful, wonderful things in the summer solstice box. We've taken it up a notch from the winter solstice box, and we're super, super excited about it. My personal announcements are once a month, the first Friday of the month, I host a free virtual event called Healing Us, and it's for Black people to come and be amongst each other and talk about the healing work that we need to do absent the white gaze within our culture. That's a free virtual event the first Friday of every month. It's called Healing Us, and it's with an organization that I work with called Speaking Down Barriers. Mm-hmm. Finally, I will be offering individual writing workshops for people who need to work on their personal statement, an artist statement, a cover letter, a leadership philosophy, or a creative/artist philosophy. I did 2 workshops that were group setting workshops, and I'll be doing another group workshop in the fall. But in the meantime, in between time, I will be offering individual sessions for people who need help crafting those kinds of statements. It's something that I've never done before, but it's like my favorite thing.
You do love doing that.
Yeah,
she
it's
does
like
them
my
so
favorite
well.
thing to teach. Oh, thank you, Boo.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'll have that link in the show notes. And lastly, Black Mama Creative Week is coming up the last 7 days of June. So get ready for the events for that. And we'll be announcing what will be going on for that coming up soon. So those are all my announcements.
All right. So, listen. I'm just gonna pat myself on the back.
Congratulations, Blue! Congratulations!
Listen, that gold lactation keynote took a sister out. I'll be honest. I'm saying it's still up, by the way. Go to Gold Lactation's website. Check out the keynote from this year.
The link will be in the show notes. Because I recorded twice to cover 2 different time zones across the globe. Mm-hmm.
It's a 75-minute talk and it was draining. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was 75 minutes. I didn't know that.
And it was just on heavy stuff. It was really, really heavy to talk about being in a burnout space and trying to still take care of the families that come to you and really meet their needs, but also meeting your own. So much of what we talked about already in this episode was covered, turning the lens back on ourselves, making sure we're okay, holding space for ourselves. All that good stuff is in there. Please check it out. Really, 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 I appreciate.
What's the title of it again? You know, we love a good title. Give us the title again, Keish. Give us the title.
Approaching care when you're barely there. Reimagining empathy when you've got nothing left to give.
That's how you know the presenter is Black. If there's rhyming in the title.
This is true. That is one of the ways. Yeah.
I'll be honest. The Canadians were not ready for what I brought. So that was fantastic. I am not slowing down anytime soon. If you live in California, boom, California WIC Association. I'll be there May 5th. Keep an eye out. If you're in Ohio, I'm coming your way. If you're in Omaha, I'm coming your way. I can be found across many states this summer.
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm so proud of you. That's good stuff.
I am on
fire.
I have a lot to say and folks are listening.
And Nikisha will be the focus of our episode for Black Breastfeeding Week. And she will be revealing something groundbreaking.
Pretty excited about that.
Revolutionary. So please tune in.
Absolutely. We cannot wait to share more about that. Meanwhile, if you work for a dominant culture organization that needs some equity training, listen, let them know. Let them know. I'd be happy to come through, help workshop their leadership into getting into a better place, expanding their minds and helping to serve the communities better.
You can find Nikisha at the Aha Moment Maven.
Somebody right now is like, ooh, I'm going to give it to my boss.
That's right. That's right.
Right now. That's
slide paper under the desk.
Slide paper under the desk. Okay, what you got, Thee? What you got, Thee?
So we launched our web home, Marley.io. You can get to it by theamonier.com, shapeandshift.com, blackofthebrain.com. All those things point to the web home. The web home is dynamic. We wanted our own virtual retreat space to have communities and interactions and share updates.
It's really beautiful
to see people start coming over and start posting
really
and setting up their profiles. Please, when you go, it'll be prompt you to join the newsletter. The newsletter only comes out twice a month. And what we are saying is people who want to be in community with us, those are the people we want to be in community with. So please sign up for the newsletter and then figure out what membership community you want to belong to. There's several options. The Shift Shapers are people who support Shaping the Shift through a $9 per month. They put 9 on it. I got 9 on it. There's a forum that we have that you'll have access to that'll have updates. You can talk with other Shift Shapers. You can chat about the latest episode, the latest guests, your gems that were dropped, and just share notes. It's super amazing. There's also the Marley.io library. We've decided to archive our work. So you will have access not just to the Black or the Brain lectures, but all lectures that I do that are outside and outward facing will be only housed in that library, along with our podling, the Get Right. Now, the Get Right, we get your life right in 5 minutes or less, so we ain't got time for that. I got to stop you from sending that text. I got to stop you from showing up at somebody's house. Ooh. I got to stop you from making real clear
doing the Lord's work.
I'm so excited about this because the Get Right used to be, what did you used to call it? And I used to love it. And I've been trying to get you to do it for years. What is it called? True Talks. And people would write in and she would answer them. And it was so good. So I'm super excited because I'm telling you, True Talks was the truth.
Some of the topics we have up there right now are Let That Shit Go. Wash Your Crevices. That one's about lazy healing.
Ooh. Did you do the verbal contract? Because the verbal contract.
The verbal contract was the first one we did.
We have all been there. No matter who you are.
You've been there.
Age, race, sexuality, gender, you have been in a verbal contract.
You've been in the verbal contract, bitch. You've been there. That had to be the first one we did. So there's about 4 of them up. We'll be dropping new ones monthly. There's also access to poems that I don't have publicly or some of the audio from Blood and Bahadeke. See how I did that pivot?
Yes.
So available now in limited supply are pre-orders of Blood and Bahadeke, which is my book published through my press, Allende Press. Blood and Bahadeke, I think I've mentioned it to you all here. It's just a story of lineage and the different parts that make up our lineage. And it's not conventional in any kind of way. I don't know what type of book to tell you that it is. All I can tell you is that the ancestors were very, very specific and very hands-on.
The type of book you need.
It's the type of book you need. If you're a book lover and you're like, no, I I need the most sacred version of this book, there are two ways. The Ancestor edition, it was so hard to find someone who would do real cloth, real gold, and like bind it and do everything. It was very specific. There's not many places that do it that way. Those will always be coming through us directly. If you want that copy, you have to pre-order, and then you got to wait a couple weeks because it takes a while to get it in, but it'll be totally worth it. Those are also personally signed by me.
So if you like exclusive shit.
If you know, but I'm gonna tell you the most exclusive shit. For those of you who are like, I want the top tier, I want the top shelf. We've created author altar boxes. Ooh. What that means is the way it is shipped to you, you will have everything you need to start your ancestor altar, along with the signed copy of the Ancestor edition of the book. The box itself can be used to house your ancestor altar. It's that detailed, it's that intuitive, it's that intentional. And then I personally chose items that I use on my altar to put into these boxes. There are only 25 of these boxes. There's only 24 left. We're not going to do another 25 of those boxes because there's some elements in that box that are so intimate to my family, I wouldn't mass distribute it. Ooh. And so those are also available on the website, but they're in very, very limited supply. And the ancestor copies are as well. It's just so much. It's like really, really amazing stuff.
We did a live with Thea about the book where she read from Blood and Bahareke. Y'all know that's hard for my Southern tongue. We'll have that link in our show notes as well. And it's up on our website. So if you go to our website, it'll be the first video that you see and you can watch and you can listen to her read live from the book. And we're talking about poetry, lineage, and Black maternal health. So take a look at that. And we'll have all of everybody's everything links in our show notes. So if you want to be a part of anything that we're doing individually or collectively, please go to the show notes, visit our website where we have complete links for everything that everyone talked about. And if something is coming up within the next 30 days, it'll be in the link of our bio on our social media page. And I think that rounds out our church announcements. We didn't have any prayer list requests. As always, we're praying for folks with COVID,
folks who are grieving,
folks who are still feeling the residual effects of healing from COVID. So as always, that's on our prayer list. As always, for information and inspiration, check out our website, dimblackmamas.com. And if you're a Black podcaster, if you're a woman of color podcaster, the one thing that has helped us sustain, grow, and evolve is finding a community. And there are two communities that we are a part of that we encourage you to become a part of in order to help you sustain your podcast. It's Black Pod Collective and Women of Color Podcasters. So you can find those groups on Instagram. You can follow them on Instagram, or you can be a part of their community on their websites, Black Pod Collective and Women of Color Podcasters. And we'll have those links in our show notes as well. Now we are going to move into the mac and cheese. We finally got here. We finally got here. For our mac and cheese, we are going to play for you throughout the mac and cheese poems that we wrote for an installation that we did in, oh my God, did we do that in 2019?
Yeah.
Wow. So fall of 2019, we were asked to be a part of round 50 of the installation for Project Row House. And Project Row Houses is a community platform that enriches lives through art with an emphasis on cultural identity and its impact on the urban landscape. They engage neighbors, artists, and enterprises in collective creative action to help materialize sustainable opportunities in marginalized communities. Project Row Houses occupies a significant footprint in Houston's historic Third Ward, one of the city's oldest African-American neighborhoods. The site encompasses 5 city blocks and houses 39 structures that serve as home base to a variety of community enriching initiatives, art programs, and neighborhood development activities. And so we traveled to Houston and we stayed for 2 weeks, and we got a shotgun house, which we learned was really originally called a Shogun house, which means house of God. Mm-hmm. We got offered the opportunity to do an art installation about Black maternal health. And I just want to read this description because if we can't do nothing
baby, these bitches on this here podcast, we can title shit and we can write a description.
I'm going to read the description and then we're going to jump into Nikisha's poem. Okay, so here we go. The title of our installation was The Untamed Womb, Reclaiming the Wonder Through Healing, Creativity, and Liberation. That's just the title. That's just the title. Okay. The intention of this project is to return the power of the womb to Black birth persons. The Black maternal health crisis is the result of centuries of systemic and institutional oppression used to intentionally separate Black people from our bodies in an effort to control or tame our existence for the pleasure and perpetuation of white supremacy. When we are disconnected from our bodies, we cannot fully engage our freedom because access to our full creative selves is limited. The research and conversations around Black maternal health are limited as well because they are rooted in the medical system and racism, both of which impact Black birth persons. This narrow lens leaves us stuck in pain and loss. The information we are given about Black maternal health is not our destiny or legacy. Come through, mamas, come through. We contend that research regarding Black maternal health needs to be decolonized and the lens widened to focus on the importance of reconnecting to our bodies through Black indigenous tradition, practice, and spirituality. We believe if we root Black births in healing, creativity, and liberation, the possibilities of a transformational experience through the womb is infinite. The installation will use Afro-spiritualism and a combination of mixed media, including film, fabric, collage, and sound to create texture, tightness, and wonder to simulate the inside of a womb. This installation is a conversation meant to instigate opportunities of exchange between the art and the audience. Participants will be provided space within the installation to offer emotional responses, help curate playlists, leave affirmations, and or non-perishable offerings. Art rooted in social justice should transform viewers, this is my favorite part, into active participants in curating their liberation, elevating the installation from presentation to conversation, transforms the womb into a living organism that constantly evolves through contributions rooted in our culture. The installation ultimately becomes an altar, a place of reverence and honor. Your girls can write.
We did
that. Girls,
we did that.
Right.
Let them about how that get pre-order now available.
It's a million ways to get it. Hit us up.
It's a million ways to get it.
Fia got 3 websites. It's a million ways to get it.
In one.
It's a
A
home.
million ways to get it. Hit us up. We can write. Yeah. So the shotgun house that we got was the space that Solange used to record her album. Our shotgun house was the only house with rooms. And the first room that you walked into was what we called the sacral room. So it was like orange and it had a kitchen table. At each seat, you could listen to a clip from an episode of our podcast that had to do with Black mothering and Black maternal health. And we also had a space where you could write songs that you wanted us to add to a playlist that you could run your phone over a QR code and you could listen to that playlist. And then we wanted people to choose one word that after they came out of the installation that they thought of, because a shotgun house is the way that it's set up is the installation is sort of circular. So you come out the same way that you came in. So the first room was a sacral room. That's the room through which people entered. But the first, I don't know, I guess the first place.
The sacral room was more of the vagina.
Yes. Yeah.
We played around with actually making it look like one. I remember we went
right. We were going to make it look like
right. We were going to make it look like a vagina. But then we started thinking about like being inclusive and LGBTQI folks and, you know, what that really meant. So we decided to steer away from that. But where you enter the womb was through Nikisha's room, which was the Yemaya room. So let's jump into Nikisha's poem first.
A prayer for Yemaya. Yemaya, mother of the fishes, mother of the waters on the earth. Nurture me, my mother. Protect and guide me. Like the waves of the ocean, wash away the trials that I bear. Grant me children. Grant me peace. Let not the witches devour me. Let not evil people destroy me. Yemaya, mother of all, nurture me, my mother. Ashe. Let all who enter this space be baptized in peace and resurrected in love. We stand with you, shoulder to shoulder, to help lessen the load, distribute the heavy weight of birthing Black babies into a world that would not welcome them, embrace them, love them. For those who carried babies who were not born alive, who never made it home, or made it home but could not stay. For those whose life's work it is to usher those babies in to this side of heaven. For those who bore healthy children, thriving children who are yet thriving today. Even you. For all of you. For all of you. Sit. Be still. Lay your burdens on the altar of love. Unburden. And when you're ready, go to the water. Go to Yemaya. Peer into the water. See your reflection fragmented among the salt crystals. Purified. Allow it to cleanse and clear and wash away whatever is holding you back today. Perhaps you'll write down a healing thought. Or maybe use the pen to unlatch an anchor that you'd like to leave behind. Whatever heals you, embrace it in this moment. And when you're ready, if you're ready, take a stone of healing salt with you to continue this rite of cleansing, even as you leave this space. Take salt to fill the place of the thing you are unburdening yourself of in this space. And remember Yemaya, mother of the fishes, mother of the waters on the earth, mother of all. Allow her to nurture you, your mother, Yemaya, as you sit and receive and cleanse and take and heal. Ashe.
One of the things I like about starting with Nikisha's poem is because for people who weren't able to see the installation, she walked you through the way she wanted you to move through the space. She walked you through the different elements. In her space, there was like a beautiful actual church pew that we put together.
I still want that pew today.
For sitting and reflecting.
It's fire.
It was fire. There was a place to get your sea salt and take it with you. There was the tree to leave your message. So there were all these elements that when you listen to the poem, if you weren't there, you could see the motion and the energy, how she wanted you to experience the room. And that's exactly how people experienced it. Into that description, the reason we called it a living organism that would evolve is because we knew the more people interacted with it, the more the space would change. So one great example of that was there was a tree in the middle of Nikisha's room that people could hang notes from. And every day the notes grew. And so that was an example of it coming to life, like we mentioned.
And that healing tree, like when we came back and all those tags were on it, it was beautiful to witness the evolution of that. So, Nikisha, when you wrote that poem, where were you? And did you think you would be where you are now?
So I wrote it feeling like I knew I couldn't be physically present in the space.
Because she had just had that baby.
I had a newborn.
She had a baby in July and we had to go to Houston in October. Yeah,
I did. And I was alone. My husband was on deployment. But I was in a place where I wanted to give voice to the space. As Thea said, guide people's experience through the space so they could just enjoy the fullness of it and understanding how it related to Yemaya, but without me being there, knowing I couldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the place I was in when I set out writing it. And then I just imagined walking through each piece of it, who Yemaya is, what the gifts are that come through and with Yemaya. I wanted to make sure that I represented all the color, the blue, the white, the water, the cleansing effect of going through a space that's just really sacred, of holy ground, but also a place where you can shed, right? Take some stuff off, leave some stuff behind that you don't want to take with you any further into the process. All really symbolic of point, right, where you are in the birthing time as well. So the intention was always to call in Yemaya's presence and to honor it there and to make sure that the folks who entered it felt like it was a safe and holy space in which they could let go of some things that were weighing them down.
Primarily grief, where they could grieve. I remember that being an ongoing conversation we had, and thinking about that room, the sea salt being tears, being the ocean.
Yes.
Being a way of cleansing, that we could cry and grieve there. And in your poem, you talk about the mothers who have lost their children in different ways and the fears that we have birthing Black babies into this world, that grief kind of comes with the territory. Your space also held a lot of space for that. People would sit there for long periods of time.
The pews invited to sit.
It was like, you can see the pew like that in a hospital chapel or so many different places. And it's also like that room attached to all the other rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was central in that house. And so it made it so that people really had to pass through it twice.
Yeah. I forgot that your husband was deployed during that time. And when I think about the comfort and nurture of Yemaya and you having to connect with that energy at that time, I think that's divine. What was your favorite or most powerful line?
Cool. So it was the hardest, I think. The hardest for me to put in was for those who carry babies who were not born alive, who never made it home or who made it home but could not stay. And that still gets me. I probably wrote it when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so that was a very, very heavy line, but I thought it was super important. We're talking about illuminating the maternal health crisis and ways that we can move through it and past it. It was really important to me to call out the different ways that our mothering experiences are experienced by many of us. They don't all look the same, and some of them are tragic, and there's grief associated with it. So that was the line. That was the line that was really most impactful for me and most important for me to insert.
I will tell you my favorite word in Nikisha's piece, take. I loved it when she said take.
Because we don't get to do that. We don't.
At the end of all that grieving and the end of all that stuff, it was like, now take. It made me feel like when Sonia Renee Taylor was on with me with Shaping the Shift, I said, what is your word for power? She said, mine. And I think hearing Black women say words like take and mine feels so oddly sexy and uncomfortable because we don't say it enough, but we should. And so I was like, oh, I like it. I like how she said take. It changed it. To me, it changed the poem, right? The poem just changed after that. Take something.
That's really important. Thank you for sharing that. I suppose that was the intention, so that not only am I saying sit and release and let go of things and leave this thing on the tree, but also take something with you so that you don't leave empty-handed.
Take more. You need to take more, basically.
Yes.
All through your life, always.
That's really interesting, Thea, because you remember when we were there, people would, one of the things.
They hesitated.
They hesitated.
Can we take this?
We're like, it's for you.
But they didn't have a problem leaving something. They didn't have a problem writing something on the tree and leaving something. But taking something was a big deal. Yeah, that's true. We don't take enough. So let's roll into Thea's poem. Yes. And I call this poem Oya, but do you have another title for it?
I call it Oya.
Okay. I didn't know if that's what you're, okay. So let's take a listen to Thea's poem Oya.
You, my Holy One, what are you waiting for? Better yet, who are you waiting for? Somebody to come and give you permission? Somebody to tell you what I've already seen in the hem of your skin, Tell me, daughter, who can hold air? Tell me, why you let them hold you like that? I didn't build you like that. I didn't build you to surrender nothing, not one slice or sliver of your sanctified soul. So who are you waiting on to be free? To birth these babies I gave you free. To free this world, starting with yourself. Then they will follow. They will follow you into the life that they deserve, a life sweeter than honey, full of divine purpose. You will liberate bloodlines, past and future. You are destined to elevate us all, even if we have to cut and fight our way out. Holy One, remember what I taught you. Free is everything. You hear me? I said, remember that free is everything.
So this is going to be super interesting. So where were you when you wrote this poem? And did you think you would be where you are now?
I was, what were you going to say, Crystal?
I'll let you finish.
I was coming into my uninitiated priesthood, I would say for sure. So I was like, oh, we getting ready. We getting ready. Initiations around the block. I think I was in a place where I was trying on my mommy's shoes, you know, thinking of, well, yeah, as my mom, trying on her shoes and trying to walk like a big girl in them. And I could see her watching me and like being patient and laughing. And I saw myself as separate from her, as still trying to earn her approval and trust. It's so funny because in order for me to write that, I have to be her, right? But that's me seeing myself as a divided self, right? As like her talking to me, this child version of her. Did I think I'd be here? I didn't know what here would look like, but I knew I'd be there because I'm determined. I was determined to walk in them shoes. I do still find myself feeling like the little girl trying on the shoes, but less and less because she doesn't just sit and watch me do that anymore. You know, it's like, you know what you need to know. And so you walk or you don't walk. It's different now. But I knew I would be progressed in that priesthood. Even if there is still a slight disconnect in my mind, sometimes there isn't in my execution. There isn't in my intention setting.
Nikisha, you didn't answer that. Did you think that you would be where you are now?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted you guys to go first on purpose.
I knew something because this is different from the agenda, Crystal.
What's she up to?
Something.
I think that your poem, Thea, is wedding vows
Oh.
between you and Oya.
Mm.
And I think that both of the poems were intentions that have fully manifested. So if you think about what you're saying in your poem, Nikisha, you're talking about care and taking care. And that is all of your work right now. Like you just got finished doing a lecture about that shit.
Yeah. It's
You know what
true.
I'm saying?
It's true. Yeah.
And even in, you know, what you have coming down the line, like, oh my God, this is like a manifestation of all of that. And I think that when you did your poem, Thea, you recorded it. Girl, I got like 5 recordings of that poem. But it's like you said, you were trying it on. That's why you had to record it so many times. To me, it was the ceremony.
And
like,
it happened through the room.
it was like you and Oya were at the altar and these were her vows to you. Like she's like, you, like, these are my vows to you. And what really brought it home for me when I was listening to it the other day was that you had the mirror in the room with the wings on it.
Yes.
Right. And so if someone stood in the mirror, if they're facing the mirror, it said,
who can hold air?
Who can hold air?
Yes.
But when the person turned around, they were facing another mirror and they could see themselves with wings.
Mm-hmm.
That was so powerful.
Yeah. And so I think about that now and it was like, oh, okay, that was the wedding ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And then the priesthood came and you consummated the relationship through the initiation.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this is the partnership. So I just saw both of those poems as like, wow, this is like intention.
That's always the case. That's it. That's how it happens.
And can we just talk about the heat and yet the intention?
It was very hot.
It was very, very hot.
It was hot, but even her words were too. Like they arrested me. I was like, whoa, okay, that's where we're going. We're going from take, leave, dip your hands in the water and to listen here.
What you said, Nikisha, you could tell in Nikisha's poem she wasn't in Houston.
He was well because in your poem,
and maybe that's how it was supposed to be.
Yes,
that's
I
the order.
It was.
People would have went from the nurturing womb because we were doing that, the nurturing womb of Yemaya. Then there was Oshun and creativity and sacral energy that Crystal and in your piece, and we're going to talk about that too. Embodied, and then they went into Oya's room. And I will say, every room they went in, you could see the shift according to which Orisha they were engaging.
And here's the thing about Oya's room. People would wait. At most, it would be maybe 3 people in there. No one told
they
people to
would sit
wait.
there. They would sit at the altar.
And it's not like they would go back out or choose not to go. I would just witness people just waiting.
Out of all the rooms, the Oya room felt like it had weight.
It did.
It didn't feel light. Like you came in there and you could feel like, ooh, from even like the mirrors were going in different directions. It almost looked like ordered chaos. It was like being in the eye of something. And we created an altar of birth workers, of midwives, of Nani midwives. And we had the bloody gloves of, birth. And we had the instruments and we had a place to sit and meditate in front of all of these things. And even in that place, there was a veil. Right. So as you sit there was a covering and it was a see-through covering. But I think what I was hoping is they could have this moment of deep intimacy with the birthing womb.
It felt like the space was for intimacy. That's the word I was looking for. Why you wouldn't crowd in there, why more than one person wouldn't be having the experience at a time. It was intimate.
It was birth, though. It was like that moment. You will be revealed. And that's what she says. Who are you waiting for to come out this womb? Who are you waiting for?
I mean, when she asked that, every time I was stuck. Like, wait a minute. Who
are you waiting for to come give you permission to leave this space? And I think that's where the waiting came in too, because you had to be ready to leave it.
Nikisha's room was like, you're entering. And it's that first trimester where most of the time dictates what will happen. Like, that's your highest risk of losing the child is in that first trimester. And then you go into Oshun, which is like that 3 to 6 month period where it's just highly stimulated. Like your hormones are just going crazy, right? And then you go into the Oya room and it's very tight. It was the smallest of all the rooms. And then it got even tighter because you made that meditation space, right? And that's the 3rd trimester. Your womb tightens. Because who's getting larger? The person is getting larger. And that's where the weight comes because like you drop down because you're about to enter the world. Like that was what our intention. Like we wanted to take people through what would happen in the womb.
Yeah, and we did. There was also always wind in that space. It crossed with the door, right? So the front door and the back door. So there was always this cross breeze in that room, which meant that veil was like almost always moving.
That breeze was powerful too. It cut through the house.
And the wind is that push.
Yeah.
And that breath.
Yeah. Yes. It's the tightest space. So that's where you rely on your breath the most because it's the tightest space. And then it was a tight space. And then to create a space within that tight space, right? Is like going through the birth canal, like
going tighter, right? Yeah.
And the only way you can get out was to become bigger. That's the only way you get out. Like you have to go small.
Yeah.
You have to get bigger to force the birth person to push you out. You're so big, the birth person can't hold you anymore. So I just thought that I was like, this is, it was intention and manifestation. It was just so powerful when I was listening back to both of them the other day.
Yeah, I loved it. The mirrors falling and breaking became a part of it. right? Because sometimes you got to break through things.
And we allowed
it.
Break.
So some mirrors were jagged, some mirrors were perfectly square. Like it was, again, it was all a part of things are going to happen, but you're still going to have to be born. That is just what it is.
And showing up in the space and having these ideas of what you're going to do and what the space is going to hold.
We had it all mapped out, y'all, to show up and actually make it.
Yeah.
You all had to let something else lead.
Yeah.
You were no longer control once you got there.
This space had to say so.
It did.
Yeah. And that's to me how art is parallel to birth. Like you can have a plan, but you don't really dictate nothing. And you have to be willing to work with it.
To yield.
To yield.
Yield.
Yes, to yield. Okay, so now we're going to jump into my poem, and it's called Bible Belt Black, a biomythography, and it represents Oshun.
Birth, conception. Skeletons are free game in mothering, even the ones not buried by us. Ashes branded into our blood without consent, then gone quietly into the night. Our mothering is an inkless experience. Taught and nurtured at kitchen tables, they are by far my greatest teachers and healers. When trying to discover and remember and discover who I was, my mama's voice let me know I was real in the world. Every day has a new sun, she says, reminding me God kissed our skin, so we're not meant to be invisible. From there, we give what we have, what we know, to our children. Sometimes America is not free or brave. Sometimes it's blood-soaked soil, buried bones with no headstone. So we must teach our children to have hope in spite of truth. Live the life they feel is possible, not the one they've been boxed into. Praise for abusive behavior when putting children back between the lines of white America. Neglectful when our children fail. So mothering for a Black woman is a constant cycle of God and godless, blood and water, heaven and hell. It's a prayer ritual, sometimes filled with silence, because our hearts are heavy and our souls are empty. Some of us make it to the other side. Some of us sacrifice. Some of us give up. But we are all brave to birth a Black child into this world. We are all brave to let our bodies breathe as best we know how and feel as full as we can. We just trying to find a promised land. Southern culture conceives in us a dual identity, giving birth to a dichotomy we spend our lives negotiating. Black Southern women don't believe chivalry undermines feminism. When you're breeded by law and persecution in the midst of pain becomes a badge of honor, bring us the bread and the roses becomes a battle cry. I, Black woman, have a dynamic, complex, heartbreaking, beautiful love affair with the South. Every piece of my being is peppered with it. For better or worse, it is my home, my anchor. Although I have drifted, the lighthouse of my heart always guides me back. I honor the blood shed here, the blood that built this land. It flows to the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. The blood that gives me strength from day to day will never lose its power. So I stand on solid ground, bearing witness to movement. I stand on solid ground, feeling like sinking sand in the darkest days of my motherhood, knowing Black mothers birth more than children. Imagine knowing you must build a village too within your womb when all you really want to do is bring forth life. Our mothering is the promise of prophecy, telling us there is more than purpose in our pain. There is electricity if we choose to love, if we choose to be brave enough to unmask our being, shed our shame, tell our stories, proving we are more than stretch marks. We are more than magic. There's no trick to what we do, no sleight of hand, no illusion when it comes to raising Black babies. It's shedding tears with a woman whose voice you've never heard, but you know her cries. Praying for women you've never touched, wanting what all mothers want. Children forging their path in the world on their own terms, to be whole, to know we are not alone when the myth of motherhood crumbles at our feet, when the fear of one day being drafted into the mounting army of mourning mothers burying yet another brown child overwhelms us. We want what all mothers want, to know there is space for us to unleash all that binds us, reminds us what love looks like, that these mothering moments are not forever. No parenting choice is permanent. We, the altar, where all lay down their burdens, absorbing whatever they are hungry for. We pour into them, make them more, loving without limit, waking every day by to-do lists, babbling babies, ancients, adolescents, instead of alarm clocks, kiss the sunrise, balance on beam like it's our birthright, praying down walls, building dreams with broken bricks held together by faith. Every day, we wake with the weight of the world on our shoulders. And just when we feel every inch of our marrow running dry, some sweet sister whispers in our ear, "There's a village, my love. There are women among us with beautiful wings, disguised as arms that reach through time, wrap around us so that we can stand, face whatever mountain standing in our way, face the day, cloaked in truth when it would have been easier to lay down in lies, even allowing us to mount their wings, remind us we are worthy of love. We are worthy of forgiveness, redemption. We are creators. We are more than fly. We light up the sky. We are electric. We illuminate the world. We know what love looks like. So let not the remains of our mothering be marked by those who hunted our children, made us too familiar with the stench of burning flesh. So I will stay here, build on this blood-soaked land, tell the stories of the women who went toe-to-toe with death, who bore fruit in a land thirsty for Black blood since its inception. Tell the children's secrets, once swallowed by the soil, but forever etched in memory, now unleashed. Bear witness to days past, and they will look at me in awe, as if I am a preacher, spinning tales of ancient times. They will say, "Mama, we won." And I will say, "Yes, baby, love won."
And where were you? Where do you wrote that poem? And where do you see yourself now?
When I started this poem, I was in a very insecure space because I actually wrote the middle of the poem first, and I wrote it 2 years prior to this. The mommy group that we were in, we were having a retreat, and one of the planners asked me to write a poem for the retreat. And so I wrote it, and that was the beginning of this poem. I had just given birth. I don't think we had started the podcast yet. I was just really insecure. I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who I was as a mother, and I wasn't fully understanding motherhood. And I saw motherhood as an obstacle and as a weight. When I was pregnant with my first son, when I was 7 months pregnant, every week a Black boy in our community got shot. Like, when you're carrying a Black child, like, you're more than pregnant. It just felt like it was so much, but felt like there had to be something to pull you through. And it's a village of women, seen and unseen. And that's kind of what our group was. It was a village of women who some of us had never met. When I talk about connecting through time, that's like the ancestors. And through space is like we connected through cyberspace. We created a space that wasn't there before so that we could have connection.
I think your poem also, when you think second trimester, you're moving into acceptance. And there's a lot of acceptance about who you are and where you are in that piece, right? Even the part you're like, yes, this is blood-soaked, slave labored land, and I am still going to stand and build on it. This is the same thing for an idea, because this is definitely tied to creativity. You want to do a thing, you do the first step, and then there's a moment where you're like, oh, this is actually a thing.
Yes.
Oh, this is actually a business, or this is actually a podcast, or this is actually a child, right? Like that moment doesn't happen from the beginning. That moment happens somewhere in that middle. It really is a do or die moment where you're like, I either push forward and keep growing and just keep trusting, or I can get scared and run away right now. But this is the moment. This is the moment where that's happening. And I could hear that for you in that piece where it was like, I'm not going to be conflicted over who I am anymore. I'm going to own all of it, even this blood-soaked land and even its mired tradition or its history. And I'm going to accept that it's a part of me along with all these other parts of me. And I don't have to choose which of those things I am or who I am. I am all of it, right? And like,
yes.
Now that's something Oshun ain't got no problems with, right? Is like, take all of me, right? And so I think that acceptance was an unexpected byproduct of your room. We thought creativity, we thought all these different things, but it was the moment of accepting what was happening in this birthing process.
My room was the only room where you didn't take anything.
You kind of did, I think, in a sense, because it was so historical. Your room had a lot of artifacts.
Yeah.
To really capture the ancestors who've been doing this work long before us.
It was the archive room.
Yes. So you're accepting all that it took for you to get here. All that work, knowing there's more to go. There's more to come before you go into that Oya room, right? You got to sit in that middle space for a bit and just kind of appreciate.
We also talked about too how that was past, present, future was a theme in the rooms, right? Because with the Yamaya things, it was really letting go of a lot of things, a lot of stories, a lot of grief, a lot of past things. The Oshun room was standing in what is here and what is now and what is what. And then Oya was like, and what are we building with that shit? There were so many unexpected themes that came out of these.
Yeah. And that room evolved.
It did. Because there were things that weren't working out. Like the room was not accepting certain things.
And the poem evolved too. Like the middle of the poem started, like I said, 2 years before. And by the time I finished it 2 years later, it had turned into a TED Talk. That's the poem that I did for my TED performance. And now I'm working on a film version of that poem. And so it's like
birthing something new. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like that room, like it was covered in newspaper. And that was never an idea for that room. And the newspaper was symbolic of all the things that Indigenous Black birth workers could do with newspapers. Like I was stunned when I found out how creative and how much ingenuity they had. And that room it took a lot out of me. It took a lot out of me.
But it fed you too. Yeah.
It fed me too. You know, I learned how to do wheat pasting because things weren't sticking to the walls. And I would go in other installations because it was humid in Houston. It was humid. And I went into this other installation and their stuff was sticking to the walls. And I was like, how'd you get to do that? And she was like, oh, wheat pasting. Learning what that is and how it has roots in hip hop and other advocacy art, right? So it was a beautiful experience where I learned how brilliant of an artist I was. Because I've always wanted to do an installation, but people usually don't ask writers to do them.
Yeah. You were very excited about the idea of us doing installation.
I think that was an unexpected takeaway. And of course, Houston was fantastic.
We loved Houston. Oh, the food. I couldn't hang the whole time with the food. I'm gonna be honest with you. My little California sensibilities, y'all.
No, you have to have a Southern gut. Yeah,
at one point,
certain constitution.
At one point, we were at a dinner, and I was like, "I'm done. I'm fucking done."
She wasn't ready, y'all.
I'm the weakest of the group. I own that.
But yeah, so I think that the whole installation was just like, it turned out even more, I think, magnificent and more detailed and intentional than we could have ever imagined. So the last thing I want to talk about is what do you all feel like the role of art is in Black maternal health?
Art allows for an outlet to release so much of what we're carrying, so much that's associated with Black maternal health in this moment. Art allows for an outlet to release some of that, to express ourselves through that. It gives you a new and different and really authentic avenue through which you can express things that words alone cannot sometimes.
I agree. And I think that art also does two things. It's a form of documentation they haven't been able to control or tame yet. And so when we want to know not just the facts of what happened, but how it felt to be alive in that time, we look to art. The other thing I think is art is because it's so self-determined, it can get in spaces that other things cannot, right? It can get into spaces that legislation can't. It can get
absolutely.
to, it can get into the heart. It can get into the psyche. It can get into the culture.
It breaks the silo.
Yes.
Things like legislation and marches and other forms of activism that can be met with a hard no. Art has this very easeful, seductive, almost like incense smoke. It can just get into anything.
I think it's a really powerful tool that's involved in every movement that's built. Art is really instrumental in movement building and movement solidifying and pushing it forward, to your point, because it doesn't necessarily have to follow the common channels. It can get into spaces that the movement wouldn't have normally or otherwise.
Yeah, this installation was so important to me, and I was so excited about it because this organization was founded by 25 artists who saw gentrification coming to their community and thought of an innovative and creative way to stop it was by restoring these houses lived in by former enslaved people, freed people, and turning them into art houses. And what they ended up doing was a space that was being torn down and contracted. They expanded it. And I think that that's a reflection of what art does. Art expands the space. It expands the conversation. It expands whatever mindset you're in. It can even expand legislation because it's a reflection of yes, what's going on. And the quote, what I'm rooted in creatively is Wynton Marsalis said in an interview once, when civilizations fall, art remains to tell the story. And that is how I learned history, was through art, was through theater. And so one of the things that I really want us to do is to show how art can break the silo when it comes to Black maternal health, because it can be a silo, because the birth community, like, we know what's going on. We know each other. We're on the front lines. But in order to really transform this thing, birth has to be a part of our culture. It has to show up in
movies, songs. It has to show up in plays.
It has to be so innate to our culture. Like, it's the one thing that everybody goes through, but people know the least about. Like, everybody should know their birth story. Your children should know their birth story. And that should be something that's just so innate to us to tell. Like, it has to get into the bones of our culture. And I think art is the avenue to do that.
I agree.
Beautiful.
So that's our mac and cheese.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for one of our favorite segments. It's Black Mama Say, where we take common sayings that Black mothers have been saying and put a little stank on it. But today we're talking about one word or phrase that we want to give to pregnant folks or those who are in their fourth trimester. What is one word that you can give to someone, specifically a Black someone?
So my phrase is, motherhood is not the graveyard of dreams. Thea said something in our episode with Chantel Norris, who is a doula who works in a prison in Alabama helping birth persons give birth. She said that birth is the most raw, creative energy ever. And so that made me think about motherhood is not the graveyard of dreams. And I've said that a lot, but it expanded into it can't be, because there's no way that kind of raw creative energy or force should contract you. It is supposed to expand you. It is supposed to shock your system into ingenuity and imagination. We have to decolonize motherhood and embrace it as a place of expansion and imagination and ingenuity, so that we can allow it to give us all that we need to get from it, because there's lessons that we're supposed to learn in motherhood too. It's not just a one-way exchange. When we decolonize motherhood, we can feel the energy that is supposed to come back to us and allow us to expand. And so I encourage you to dream, like even if you have to use the memo on your phone when you're breastfeeding the baby or you're up at night or whatever, and you don't have time to write anything down, but you just speak into your phone, a dream, a scene from a movie, a painting that you want to do, a line from a poem, put it in your phone, or just get a journal. Like a great gift to give a birth person is a journal where they can just jot something down, but dream, and be willing to dream new dreams. So that's what I would say.
Wow, that's good. I think I would like to say to birthing people who are new to this or about to be someone's parent, I think the sooner you learn that the people who come through you or to you as children are not yours. You do not own them.
Oh, look at the growth. Look at the growth, goddammit. Because that was the most resistant to that when we started the podcast.
Yeah. But I want you to decolonize your concept of what it means to be the vessel through which they reach this side.
Come on, Keisha.
Change is coming to America.
That ownership is not and never should have been the perspective that you take on the people that join us coming through you as a vessel. You do not own them. You are given the gift of enjoying part of their journey, but they have an entirely separate destiny, purpose that they're here to enjoy from your own. And as Crystal would say, it is not a reflection of you. What that looks like.
That. And I'm telling you, the mothers I know who believe that and be like, you out here looking crazy, but I ain't. Like those mothers are some of the freest bitches you've ever met in your life.
I strive for that.
They're
that level of freedom.
Because you know that you did some things that your mama taught you better. So why wouldn't it be the same for your kids?
Yeah,
these are the facts.
You know? So yeah.
What you got for the people?
I would offer one word. I want for you what I want for myself, and it's been 16 years since this JJ was cracked open last. It's soften. You know, there are going to be moments when you feel like you can only trust the things you can control. Feel like you have to control everything, have to know everything, have to do everything right. There's so many parts where you're going to tighten. And so if I can get to you early, what I would say is those are the exact moments that you should soften. And in that softness, you may find a laugh with your baby, with your child, with your family. You may find compassion. You may find someone hold you. I think we talk a lot about the way Black women are treated. And I think we have to ask ourselves, are we ready to be treated a different way? Are we ready to be held? Do we know how to be held? Do we know how to trust that, right? You know, I have one of my children is a beautiful, wonderful, giving, high maintenance Aries. And one of the things I appreciate about her, even during her time of sickness, was she knew how to let somebody take care of her. She really did. And she said, Mommy, my favorite moment was when you loosened the jar, because she won her water in this particular jar. You loosened the jar for me.
We like our things.
They like their things. They like their things. You loosened the jar in case I was too weak to open it myself. And what I wish for you is the level of softness and trust in what you desire as valid so deeply that the people around you loosen the jars for you, and that you have that sweet moment of being like, just in case I didn't feel strong today, somebody loosened the jar for me. Just in case, you know, I didn't feel my best, somebody laid a soft pillow down for me. But be able to also be the pillow, receive those types of things. Yeah. And so, like I said, those are going to be moments when you're going to judge yourself. But I beg you to soften and see what the universe, how it shows up for you in a different way than it did for your mother or your grandmother.
And that's the goal, to evolve the way the universe shows up for us. Oh, I just got chills when you said soften. My whole body.
Yes, that's a powerful word.
Yeah, I was just like,
we don't do it enough. We don't do it enough. Thank you for that. Listeners, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dim Black Mamas.
And don't forget to check out our website at www.dimblackmamas.com. You can also send us your thoughts about the show, show us some love, and ask us some questions at magic@dimblackmamas.com.
And be sure and listen and subscribe, not just to us, but to our sister podcast, Shaping the Shift. And if you're a Black mom and you need some love and support, check out Black Moms Connection. You can follow them on Instagram, or you can join the Facebook group, and that link is always in our show notes. And in closing,
go onward,
empower,
and brilliance.